Next question. Each of you professes to be a political conservative, yet you disagree on many specific issues. How do each of you define what it is to be a conservative, and how would that affect your role as a United States Senator from Indiana in the next 6-year term? This goes first to Mr. Murdock.
That is a great question, and to the former point, we'll be glad to provide those roll call vote numbers. I see myself as a conservative, meaning I believe in the Founding Fathers' principle that the federal government needs to be restricted and limited. You know, we have grown to the point with our government today that I don't think our Founding Fathers would even begin to recognize this country for what they designed it to be. They expected to have a federalist system where there would be more power in the states and less power in the federal government. And yet, as every day goes by, we see more and more of a regulatory environment created that supports Washington, D.C., that indeed becomes the real purpose of our federal government, and I think it's way overstated. You know, during this incredible recession of the last several years, there was only one area in the United States where the metropolitan service area, which is to say a city, where their residential housing values went up, and that was in Washington, D.C. It's booming there because government is growing ever greater, and it is at the cost of what I believe to be conservative values. You know, I want to see us, yes, as I've said, roll back government, not simply as an academic exercise, but to provide greater freedom to individuals. You know, our Founding Fathers had that great genius to understand that they weren't giving us freedom. It was something they recognized that God has given us, but they wanted to find a mechanism to protect. And they had come out of a system where government far off across the shores was coming back and influencing everyone's day-to-day life. And that's what they set our government up to be, was something other than that. Clearly, I want to move us back in that constitutional direction and look forward to having that opportunity.
Mr. Luger, 2 minutes.
Well, fortunately, I already have that opportunity, and my voting record, as shown by the National Chamber of Commerce, the NFIB, the Federation of Independent Business, National Association of Manufacturers, other business groups, over the lifetime situation is well past 90% with trophies each year for a conservative voting record during 35 years, not prospectively. I would just say it's not by chance. I've come from a situation which I've volunteered to serve in the United States Navy because I believed in the strength of America that came from that kind of service. I came back and worked with my brother Tom to manage a food machinery manufacturing business. My grandfather had founded a small business in which we learned how to create new jobs, create new product, create new markets abroad, and hire more people. We are farmers. I've been managing our family farm for over 50 years, thinking about corn and soybean prices about every day, trying to think through how we could get greater yields on that land, as farmers all over Indiana have been doing. These are conservative elements of my life, and they're expressed in my votes. And the work that we have been doing, both in the economy as well as in foreign policy, to bring security for America. So I appreciate the question because it's very important. We understand conservative values. Edmund Burke, the great English philosopher, onward in terms of limited government, constitutional government. But finally, some of us actually have to vote for these principles. And I look forward to those opportunities each day.
Gentlemen, in your 30-second rebuttals, I wonder if you might clarify something for me. I believe what I've been hearing from you is exclusively small government and low taxation conservatism. I haven't heard you mention social conservatism. Mr. Murdock.
Sure. Be glad to clarify. I am certainly a social conservative. I believe in that life begins at conception. I've been endorsed by the Indiana Right to Life PAC, and I'm honored to have that. I believe a person's individual faith is very important to them, and not only how they work, whether they're in government or not, but especially for those of us who are in government. You know, lastly, I'd just like to go back to the purpose of government. You know, we hear a lot about businesses interacting with government, and that's okay, but business shouldn't be depending on government. This thing that's developed in the last few years, crony capitalism, where businesses are depending more and more on government, is a very dangerous trend. It is the opposite of conservatism.
Yes, Mr. Luger.
Well, I'm a social conservative. I believe strongly in marriage, in children and family values. I have a 100% record with the Right to Life group. I would just simply say that this is a part of being a conservative. And I appreciate your question raising that issue.
We are at that point where we need to shorten your responses just a little bit so we can get everything in. So 1 minute 30 for the next question.